team. The Horns marched into Stillwater on Saturday and knocked off the Cowboys 28-7. The defense continued to impress for Texas, while quarterback Tyrone Swoops had a bounce-back game, passing for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. And key stat here, no interceptions. So, guys, takeaways from this game. Jet, start us off.
What I take away really is, of course, the defense has been playing their thing. So, I mean, that's not anything surprising to me personally. But it's just the offense, again, you know, Swoops did have good stats, didn't throw a pick. But I think at the end of the day, the offense had a chance and should have put up over 40 points on the Oklahoma State Cowboys. The defense gave them, didn't let them score until the 4th. Got them turnovers, got everything, got great field position for the offense, and the offense still only put up, I believe, it was 28 points. And it's happened before. It happened with the Kansas game. It happens almost every game, it seems, where, you know, once the offense does score, they might have some sort of change in momentum, and the offense has to, you know, respond finally. It's like they wait until they need to respond when they should be racking up points the entire time. So I feel like the offense just, you know, it's inconsistent throughout the entire day, and they don't play 4 quarters.
Oh, and then miscues on special teams as well, with Will Russ fumbling that snap, made it 6-0 after the first touchdown. I mean, that could come in huge when you're playing a better team like TCU next week. But Zach, takeaways?
I mean, it steps in the right direction. You have to, with the caveat that it's Oklahoma State. They don't have their starting quarterback. J.W. Walsh is injured. I'm just not all that impressed with the win. It is steps in the right direction. I believe UT had 12 more minutes of possession than Oklahoma State, and that's really important because this team does not have much depth after all of the players that were kicked off. And so whenever the offense is able to control the ball, keep the defense off the field, let them rest, the defense is a lot more fresh and able to dominate as they've been doing all season. We've seen it since Baylor. Since they played Baylor in just about every game. They start really strong, play a great first half, and then just peter out in the second half.
And everyone unimpressed so far. Mark, what do you think?
I was actually pretty impressed by the win. I think the future in Austin for Texas football looks bright. I think the defense is elite under Charlie Strong, and I don't see them stopping anytime soon. When they hold supposed star running backs, Rolland and Hill, to 37 rushing yards, they're doing really well. However, I think the biggest takeaway from this game was the Texas offensive line. After what seems like 100 different starting lineups, they finally have a consistent group, and Malcolm Brown and Jonathan Gray were able to rush for 112 rushing yards. And Swoops finally has time to throw the ball, and you saw the results. He played really well, 24 for 33, 305 yards. I mean, we've seen his potential. Maybe he just needs an offensive line to block for him. That's why he's doing well.
Yeah, guys, I'm going to go with Mark on this one to give him the point for the offensive line. I think it's really big seeing how they've developed, getting that running game going for Texas. It's been huge for Swoops. Maybe we can see him develop a little bit more. But Mark's going to start us off with the point. Now, no game this weekend, but next week on Thanksgiving Day, the Horns will welcome number 5 TCU to town. The Horned Frogs fell out of the top 4 after a less than impressive 34-30 win over Kansas. So since we won't get to it next week, guys, what are the keys to victory for Texas in this one? How much of a chance are you giving the Horns to pull off the upset? Zach?
UT definitely has a chance. It's at home. TCU struggled the last couple of weeks. I think really just looking at it, UT has to continue to hold on to the ball. You can't let TCU's offense onto the field. If this gets into a shootout, UT just doesn't have the weapons to compete. However, if they're able to run the ball, the offensive line continues to play well, as Mark mentioned, then the time of possession, if it's in UT's favor, there's definitely a chance. The defense is good. It's probably going to be, I'd argue, it's just the best defense that TCU will have played all year. I doubt it'll be a shootout like they played with Baylor, which will probably be the other really good defense they've played. So UT definitely has a shot. I think TCU is still the favorite for sure, but I wouldn't count UT out.
Yeah, I mean, definitely can't let it become a shootout. If that happens, Texas is probably going to be in trouble, even though TCU is struggling a little bit right now. But Mark, what do you think?
I think it's Texas has a good shot of winning, but the key to the game is Texas's offense has to play like it did against Oklahoma State. You know the defense is going to play well like they have been all season. But if Texas is able to stay on the field, get an early lead, and then start off strong in the second half, which they haven't been, I think this is definitely a game they can win. I say it's about 55% chance they end up winning this game just because they're playing inspired football right now. TCU's not as hot as Texas is right now. And I think I like their chances.
Okay.
I honestly think the chances are actually slim for the Texas.
Man, you're so negative. Yeah, so hard on the Horns, man. Finally coming around.
I have to be hard on the Horns.
We got something to be excited about.
Because it's just every week they find they've never played it. They haven't played one perfect game this entire season. There hasn't been one great game where it's great defense and great offense. It just hasn't happened.
True that.
And I can't trust the offense, and I still can't. And as I said in the last question, I think the defense will play. I think they will stop Trayvon Boykin. But the offense has to score. They have to score a lot. When they're given the chances, they have to score. If there's a turnover, you have to score on the turnover. No missed field goals, no anything. I think honestly, if they end up, anything less than 30 points, they're not going to win the game.
Okay. So what percent are you giving it? I mean, Mark says 55%. What do you think?
Personally, 25.
25?
Yeah.
Okay. Zach, what do you think?
40.
40? All right. I think I'm going to give Zach the point on this one. I think time possession is going to be huge. Jet, you mentioned offense. Obviously, going to have to score a lot of points. But I think if they got to keep the defense off the field as much as possible. Offense got to hold on to the ball.
Definitely.
Zach going to get the point on this one. Guys, moving to the hardwood now. The Texas basketball team opened regular season play this past weekend with blowout wins over North Dakota State and Alcorn State. What, if anything, did you guys learn about this team after beating up on some weaker opponents? Mark.
Well, what we learned is that Texas has a really good basketball team, and they're really deep. I think they haven't played anything close to perfect, but perfection doesn't happen in the first 2 games of the season. Miles Turner had a pretty good debut. I think he needs some fine-tuning with catching the basketball. Isaiah Taylor, he played pretty badly the first half against North Dakota State, honestly. He only scored 2 points, and it seemed like he missed every single shot. But he was able to turn around, scoring 18 points in that game. And then against Alcorn State, he scored 12 points. So I think if he plays like he did against the second half, in the second half against North Dakota State for every half, they're going to be able to compete with some of the better teams. And we also learned that they have one of the best front courts in the country with Ridley, Turner, and eBay. I think they're going to be great. And then also, watch out for Jonathan Holmes. He's playing really well, senior Jonathan Holmes. He's shooting 900 from the field with 24 points in 2 games. So I think he's
How many shots is he taking?
like 20.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's done pretty good. 24 points, 2 games, 12 points average.
Hey, I'll take it. Jet, what do you think?
Look, I'm going to go to Mark on this, and really the main point is Texas is deep. There's a lot of depth on this team. When you look at it, the third string down low guy is Prince eBay. That's not too shabby, okay? Because he's a long guy, block shots, and honestly, not many people can drive on Texas right now. It's going to have to take a lot of outside shooting. Is the Big 12 up for it? I'm not sure. But I think, even as he mentioned, Jonathan Holmes, great shooting. Isaiah Taylor, he can drive the hole and then kick it out. And I think Texas just has there's a lot of people. And Javon Felix is actually a pretty decent backup. And, even with the other freshmen that are coming in, like Barnett, Texas has a really great shot, even with their second stringers.
Yeah, and I think a big thing, you guys are all mentioning depth. Zach, we haven't gotten to you, but what do you think?
I mean, these games didn't teach us anything we didn't really know. Texas is big. I mean, you kind of know that looking at the roster. They have 5 guys who are 6'8" or taller, and all of them, or 5 guys within the rotation. They're 6'8" or taller. I think they're starting Lammert, Holmes, and Ridley. All of them are 6'8". Ridley's like 6'10", and you're bringing Turner and eBay off the bench. That's just ridiculous size. The only team in the country that even matches up with that is Kentucky. And luckily, we see a Kentucky-UT matchup, and that'll really teach us a lot about this team. One thing that I've seen so far that I have seen as a very good sign is last year, the downfall of UT is we could not shoot the ball. Felix could shoot a little bit. Someone would get hot occasionally, but if UT was down, there really wasn't too much of a likelihood of a comeback, just because you need a three-pointer to come back. This year, starting off small sample size, you have to admit that there's 2 games.
Well, who's shooting the ball right now?
Holmes and Taylor are both 2 for 3 from the three-point line. They shot 48% against Alcorn State. They shot 32% against North Dakota State, but there was like 4 misses in the last 2 minutes of garbage time that just add into that. So I'm a little bit optimistic about the shooting. If that can turn around, this is a very dangerous team.
Okay. I think I'm going to give everyone a point on this one. That's going to take us to our very first break of the night. We'll be right back in just a few minutes here on College Crossfire.
UTPD is using the latest technology to keep campus safe.
This is Colt McCoy, 265.
Really, Wesley?
That's right.
You want to go there? Really?
That's right.
Right now, Domino's has a large $5.99 carryout special. With a deal this amazing, we're going to need a ton of boxes. This week, carry out large 2-topping pizzas for just $5.99 each, only at Domino's.
Hi, I'm Tom. What can I get you?
I need 6 large pies, pronto.
Sounds like a party. Whoop, whoop.
Introducing voice ordering on the Domino's app. Right now, get 2 medium, 2 topping pizzas for $5.99 each.
Here on College Crossfire, here's how the scores look after round one. We got Jet with 1, Zach and Mark tied atop the lead with 2. Now, last night, the latest college football playoff rankings were announced, and as always, there was some controversy. Alabama jumped up to the #1 spot after knocking off then #1 Mississippi State. Oregon and Florida State both stayed put at 2 and 3, and Mississippi State replaced TCU in that #4 spot even after the loss to Alabama. Now, guys, are you in agreement with the committee this week? Jet, what do you think?
Well, I mean, honestly, I would only change one, and that's just the 1 and 2. I think even though Florida State, maybe haven't been as good as they were last year, they still haven't lost a game. And I think, you got to put that above Alabama, even though Alabama has been impressive, except for the one loss, of course. And so I just think, honestly, it should be, Florida State, then Alabama, then Oregon. And I think Mississippi State does deserve that spot, even though they lost. They didn't lose by much. It was in Alabama, hard place to play. And so I think Mississippi State, among those one-loss teams like Ohio State, Baylor, and TCU currently right now, I think their resume is a lot deeper and a lot better and a lot more impressive. So I think, honestly, it's a great thing. I just think 1 and 2 need to change.
Okay. So you think it should be Florida State 1, Bama 2, Oregon 3?
Yeah.
And then Mississippi State 4.
Yeah.
All right. Zach, what do you think?
I think the committee got it right. ACC is not good. They're not. Florida State hasn't played anybody. So I look at it, Alabama, they've ran the gauntlet, and they've only have 1 loss. They beat the #1 team. They're the #1 team in the nation then. Oregon, they're really good. They've been solid on offense all year. They're heating up. I like Oregon at 2. And I have Mississippi State at 4 as well. Just comparing the resumes, they have similar levels of wins as TCU or Baylor. They've beat A&M, they've beat LSU, Auburn, all those teams when they're at their peak. Mississippi State, it just comes down to it. Who has TCU lost to? Baylor. Who has Mississippi State lost to? Alabama. Alabama's better than Baylor, so Mississippi State's top 4.
I do think Mississippi State probably does deserve that 4 spot over TCU if we're both looking at one-loss teams here.
Yeah.
But some of their wins that you're citing a little bit there, I mean, a big win over Auburn and then win over LSU. I mean, the more those teams start to struggle,
they lose their luster, but a lot of TCU's wins as well. Oklahoma State's kind of fallen off a little bit. West Virginia's on the decline. It kind of goes both ways.
And we'll see how big of a 41-20 win over K-State ends up being at the end of the year.
True.
Mark, what do you think?
I have to go with Florida State at #1 also, and then Alabama, then Oregon, then Mississippi State. FSU hasn't lost in 2 years. They're playing, I mean, even though they haven't played anyone that great, they've come back in a bunch of games, and some teams give up. And they haven't given up yet, and they always persevere, and they always come back and win. And then I have to go with Mississippi State in that last spot, just because their only loss came at Alabama, and they could have won that game. Dak Prescott threw 3 interceptions; they still could have won. So, and TCU and Ohio State aren't that good enough as compared to Mississippi State. So I have to agree with the Jet on everything.
Yeah, I'm going to give Jet and Mark the points on this one. I think the committee got it right because at the end of the day, if Florida State just wins out like they're supposed to do, and if they lose one of those games, they definitely don't deserve to get in as a one-loss team.
Not at all.
But I still think right now, I mean, putting them at #3, I feel like it's a little bit disrespectful for a team that hasn't lost it in a couple years. I think it's 26 straight games. So Jet and Mark going to take the points on this one. Talk a little college basketball for a minute now. Only about a week into the season, but we've had some good matchups so far. Duke, Michigan State. Kentucky, Kansas last night. Let's get a real quick season preview, guys. What should we be on the lookout for this year? Zach.
Look out. It's the same teams that are always good are good again this year. We know that Kentucky is deep, the platoon system. A lot has been said about that. Duke is good. Duke brought in 4 freshmen. And this freshman class might be better than last year's. Joel Okafor is legit. He very well could win the National Player of the Year. But I'd rather look at a couple other teams. I think Wisconsin should be the favorite. They have Sam Decker and Frank Kaminsky, 2 of the most seasoned and 2 of the most talented players in the nation. Both those guys can score. They can score in a variety of ways. They're seasoned. They went to, I believe, the Elite 8 last year. Wisconsin's a really good team. And then watch out for Utah. Utah has a player named DeLon Wright, who he just fills up the box score. The guy, he rebounds the ball, he passes it, he scores. Utah's sitting there I think they're 25th right now. They lost to Arizona, who's a very good team. When it comes down to it, just look out for Utah.
Okay, I like that. Coming with the team that's going to fly under the radar this year. Mark, what do you got?
Well, besides Texas, I'm really looking forward to watching Kentucky play this year, along with Wisconsin's 7-footer Frank Kaminsky and Duke's freshman Jahlil Okafor. They're comparing Jahlil Okafor already to Tim Duncan because he just knows how to use his
pretty solid comparison.
Yeah, it's a pretty good comparison because he knows how to use his body well. He's definitely one and done, but he's going to lead Duke far in the tournament. And Kentucky's a powerhouse yet again. They've got like tons of first-round draft picks and Jakari Johnson, the Harrison twins, and Cauley Stein. I mean, they're stacked. And
we have that platoon system.
Yeah, with John Calipari leading the way, I don't see them not making the Final Four. I think it'd be disappointment if they didn't make it. And then I just think it's going to be a great season for college basketball. And then they killed Kansas too. I don't think Kansas should be in the top 10 anymore. I mean, after that embarrassment, good teams show up in big games. They didn't show up. I don't think they should be in the top 10 anymore, but I think they'll end up in the top 10 at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, that Kansas team, a lot of inexperienced guys, losing Embiid, losing Wiggins, losing a couple other guys too. So I think that's a team that we might see, kind of like Kentucky. I mean, I think they might come on a little bit quicker, but like Kentucky last year where they had all this talent and then we saw them struggle and then finally, picked it up at the right time. Jet, what do you think?
I will say this. That Kansas-Kentucky matchup really makes Texas look really good and a great chance to win the Big 12 this year. Just because I think experience a lot of times takes over, and that's why I'm not too sold on the Kentucky team yet. They did have a great performance, and it might just be a little hype at the beginning of the season. But
they return a lot of guys from last season.
I still think
a lot of guys that played in the championship.
Kentucky's legit.
I mean, maybe Final Four, but I don't see them winning the championship. I think, as I said, Wisconsin with Kaminsky. I really think you need to have a solid leader, maybe a junior, senior on your team. And I think that's what Kaminsky is. And they watch out for Duke as well. And even Michigan State. Watch out for the small Michigan State school. Even Tom Izzo usually brings stuff out of the bag at the end of the season and watch them in the tournament.
Yeah, they're always in there at the end of the year. I think I'm going to give Zach the point on this one. I like that he came with Utah, a little different there. Yeah, the team to fly under the radar there in the Pac-12. To the NFL we go now for a quick minute. We're going to check in on the Houston Texans. Coming off a bye week, the Texans were in need of a big win over Cleveland on Sunday to stay in the playoff hunt. And that win is exactly what they got. In his first start as a Texan, Ryan Mallett led the team to a 23-7 win over the Browns. Houston now 5-5 on the year, barely hanging around, looking at a chance at one of those AFC wildcard spots. Also, guys, only one game out of the AFC South division lead behind the Colts. Are the Texans a playoff team? Mark?
In my mind, the Texans are not a playoff team. Right now, they rank 11th in the AFC in the playoff standings, and they're just their resume isn't that impressive. I mean, I don't think Cleveland's that good without Josh Gordon. Without a good quarterback, I don't see them going far at all. Maybe if they get a quarterback next year, they'll make the playoffs, but I don't see them going anywhere with Mallett or Fitzpatrick under center.
Okay, Jet?
I can't take the Texans right now. The AFC is littered with teams that are 6-4 and 7-3. Right at that midpoint. So the Texans might have a chance, but just think about other teams like you got the Chiefs, the Dolphins are actually good this year. The Chargers. It's just there's so many teams and there's so many divisions that are still within one game. But I just think the Colts are going to run the table, and so they have to vibe. They are going to have to fight for that wild card spot. But there's too many teams in the AFC right now that are ahead of them for that wild card spot, and I don't think they're going to take it.
Pretty easy schedule rest of the way, though. I mean, they got the Bengals, a team that's coming off a big win over the Saints, but they also do have the Jaguars twice, got the Titans once, so pretty easy schedule.
I think they'll drop a couple too, and there's just too many teams ahead of them right now. I think it's too late in the season to change that.
Okay, Zach, Texans playoff team?
You took the words out of my mouth. I think the Texans are. I have the Steelers as the first wild card, and I think the next wild card is it's kind of up for grabs. I think the Chiefs are probably in the pole position right now. But looking ahead, the Chiefs have a tough schedule down the stretch, and the Texans have a cakewalk. They have probably one of the easiest schedules in this last 6 games. And they have the best player in the NFL. J.J. Watt is the best player in the NFL. And if they can just get competent play out of Ryan Mallett, this is a team that can definitely challenge that playoff spot. And ultimately, I think they'll get it.
Okay, so you guys are – Jet and Mark are both saying they're not getting it, and Zach's saying for sure they're getting it?
I'm not going to say for sure.
Okay.
Hey, well, I think they have the best – I think they're most likely to get it after the Steelers. Steelers get one. I think they'll get the second one.
Well, Kansas
I
City.
mean, I'm just not sure where
Kansas
they
City
are
has a
set
tough
on the
schedule down the
QB.
stretch.
On the QB, you know, Mallett did have himself a decent game, but you know, can he have a decent game along? Are they going to stick with Mallett? Like, what are you going to do? They still haven't decided.
Are the Browns that good though? Like
They're actually decent this season.
Yeah, I
it
mean,
was actually a pretty decent.
Texans have actually at 5-5, they've won 5 games that they were definitely supposed to win, and lost 5 games that they were probably not supposed to win. So. I think I am going to give Jet and Mark the point on this one. I still think we need to see a little bit more from Mallett, but you know, like we both said, Zach, pretty easy schedule to finish out for them. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do make the playoffs. And it's going to be time for our final break of the night. Coming up next, it's our rapid fire round. Stay tuned. It's College Crossfire.
As somebody who owns a production house, that I work in film every day, and I'd like to think that I'm very successful at it. I would not have been able to do that if not for TSTV, because I was not a film student. I didn't have any background in production. Everything that I know today in terms of production, I started at TSTV. And if that resource had not existed, I honestly don't know what I'd be doing today. But I wouldn't be doing this.
Hi, I'm Guillermo and I'm watching TSTV. Don't forget to watch TSTV. Yeah!
UTPD is using the latest technology to keep campus
This is Colt McCoy, 265.
Really, Wesley?
That's right.
You want to go there? Really?
That's right.
With us tonight here on College Crossfire. Let's take a quick look at the scoreboard before we get into rapid fire. We've got Jet with 3, Zach with 3, and then Mark in the lead with 4. Guys, let's get right into rapid fire. With Texas becoming bowl eligible, much has been made the past few days about a potential Texas versus Texas A&M matchup in the Texas Bowl. The last 48 hours, reports have surfaced that A&M and the SEC are trying to avoid that matchup. Who knows if these reports are true or not? But what potential bowl matchup besides the A&M one would you guys most want to see? Anybody jump in here? A couple potential scenarios, win or lose for Texas that they could.
It doesn't matter to me which team, but I want UT to play an SEC team. I have too many friends at A&M who are all about how the SEC is so great and so powerful, and I think the SEC is just a little bit overrated. And I would love for UT to play LSU, Florida. I don't care who it is. Go out and win a game against the SEC. That's all I want to see.
But how much do you think that would really say if they won a game over a struggling LSU team?
We're a struggling Big 12
struggling.
We are a struggling Big 12.
But I feel like UT's kind of an on-the-rise Big 12 team. Jet, Mark, what do you guys think?
I would like to see Texas versus Louisville. Now, Charlie Strong's old school. You know, I don't know. I just
not sure the odds on that, but that would be an interesting.
I think it'd be an
matchup,
interesting matchup, and you know, because there's actually Vance Bedford too, Louisville.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot of Louisville coaches besides Charlie Strong on this squad, so it'd be fun to see them go up against the old squad.
Okay, Mark, what do you want to?
Well, I'd rather see LSU instead of A&M, just because I think LSU is playing A&M this next week, and I think they're probably going to beat A&M. So if we beat LSU, then we could say that we could have beat A&M.
Okay, I like that. I mean, I think it would be better if they just let Texas and Texas A&M play.
It'd solve everyone's problem.
It would take what would normally be a third-tier game and bring it up to must-see TV, almost as big as some of the BCS bowl games used to be.
Despite the terrible records.
I think I'm going to start everyone off with a point here for rapid fire. So Mark's still going to have the lead right now. We're going to go to the NBA for our second rapid fire. Recently, Derrick Rose made some interesting comments about his injuries and how he's a little more worried about his long-term future here. Now, guys, are Bulls fans justified in their criticism of Rose based on his comments? Anybody jump in?
I think they're not justified. I think Rose should take whatever time he needs to come back because they're playing well right now. I mean, we don't want him to get hurt again. He's gotten hurt.
But if he takes as much time as it looks like he's going to need, I mean, is he ever going to play an entire season?
He wants to play, but like he doesn't want to get hurt again. You got to think of those risks too. Like if he gets hurt again, then he could possibly end his career.
But he was talking about being sore in meetings and things like that.
Apparently,
it's I don't know I have no idea what it's like to play in the NBA for 19 years like Kobe has, or 20 years like some guys did. But I do know it's not the same as football. So
they don't have a right to be angry with Rose. But Rose worded that statement very poorly, talking about meetings and talking about going to graduations. That's stuff that Bulls fans don't care about. They want to win championships. And honestly, I get it for Rose. Apparently, he's going to injure every part of his leg this season because I think he's hurt his ankles, his hamstrings, his knees.
And he comes back and he
just a couple
sprains
games later,
both ankles.
It's just scary to watch him at this point because he's going so fast, and you see him fall, and you're like, well, there goes another thing. But the Bulls fans, they see that if they're watching the games. They don't have a right to be upset about that, but he should have worded it better.
Okay, Jeff,
I mean, he's putting his body on the line for a sport. You can't control getting hurt or not. Like it's not like, he goes up and he's immediately looking down like to not get his leg in the way. He plays hard. I think he takes it all at Chicago. He's brought him up in the playoffs before. It's unfortunate he got hurt. Now, as Zach said, he did word it very poorly. But Bulls fans, I mean, they might be aggravated, but there's really no reason you can be mad at Rose because it's something out of his control. It's completely out of his control. Now, I mean, they probably, honestly, if I was a Bulls fan, I probably wouldn't want Rose on our team anymore because I just think it's more of a burden now.
I wouldn't go that far.
It's more of a burden.
But if he's never on the floor, then
Jimmy Butler's playing great right now.
He's a good leader, though. I mean, he grew up in Chicago. He loves the city. He wants to win for the city. I mean, he doesn't want to do. He wants to win for the city. That's why he's taking his time. So make sure.
I just like to see him be a little bit more passionate about it. Maybe even fake like he's really dying to be on the court out there, kind of like Kobe was when he was injured.
Yeah, he's that no emotion type of guy on the bench. That's for sure.
Well, guys, I thought somebody would disagree here. I think the Bulls fans are a little bit justified in being frustrated. But I'm going to give everyone a point again on this one. Mark's got the lead by one, so this next one's going to decide it here. And for the last rapid fire, we're going to take a look at one of the better defensive plays from this past Sunday in the NFL. And oddly enough, that play didn't actually happen on the field. It happened in the stands. Take a look here. Bengals tight end Jermaine Gresham scores a touchdown, seeks one particular Bengals fan in the stands, but the ball is intercepted by a Saints fan. And then he refused to give it back to the lady after she begged for it after. Guys, was that kind of a jerk move by the Saints fan there? What would y'all have done in that situation?
Not at all. If you can get a football, get a football. Take one home. Get a souvenir.
What do you guys think?
I mean, after the Saints were getting destroyed, I'd be upset too. I'd just want to make them as miserable as possible. Take the football away from them.
Okay.
This is a guy, like a grown man, stealing a ball from a sole Bengals fan in this one area. Like, first of all, she's already putting her life on the line just being alone in the section. Getting all the hecklers,
Whoa.
everyone talking about her, being rough. Come on. And the one chance she has in life to get a ball from Huzmanzada or whoever it was. Come on. She's in the stands too. It's her chance to get the ball. Obviously, it's for her. She's by herself, and you steal the ball. Like, what kind of guy does that?
All right. I think the guy's a little bit justified. Just like I think the Bulls fans a little bit justified. I'm going to give Mark the 2 points on this one, just because he came with the consolation prize argument there. Mark's going to get his first win on College Crossfire, I believe, right?
Yes.
Okay. Congratulations, Mark. Guys, thanks for coming on the panel tonight. Unfortunately, we don't have time for FaceTime, but hey, I'm sure you'll be ready to come back in 2 weeks when we have our next show. That's all the time we have for tonight's show. Thanks for tuning into another episode. As always, we'll be right back here, same place, same time next week. Thanks for tuning in. Good job, y'all.
So this is a tripod. To set it up, you pull it. All right, you open these. Yeah, that extends. You get some. I don't know how to.
Good evening. Tonight on Action News, we'll be. Good evening. Tonight on Action News, we'll be discussing that all too familiar debate. A debate that has divided countries, split families, plowed fields, donated sperm, maybe even basted turkeys. That timeless philosophical question: is cheerleading a sport? We go now to our leading scientific mind, Dr. Phil Monkey Forrester, for the answer. Phil?
Yes, well, it appears